And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Well, starting the marine section off with tonight's forecast. Next big storm coming in to the far western Bering Sea here. Komondorski's bringing increasing wind and rain into the western Aleutians. Otherwise, weak trough through here, bringing more showers in toward the southwest coast. A stronger storm now kind of splitting into two separate centers here. This one back here keeping it windy across the western North Slope, the northwest coast. Coastal flood warnings all the way up to the central Arctic coast. Weak low with some showers here, Prince William Sound, and showers over the southeast interior. Fair for the Panhandle. And for tomorrow, we'll see the system out west advances eastward here with gale and storm force winds associated with it. Rain into Adak late in the afternoon. Higher pressure, light winds, dry conditions. Eastern central Bering Sea. This trough moves inland, bringing the rain and showers into the Kuskokwim Valley area. Scattered rain and snow showers here across the central interior, especially over the mountainous terrain here. Some showers will find their way into the Susitna-Manuska Valley, northern Cook Inlet during the day tomorrow, as well as Prince William Sound with this week low. Low pressure tracking eastward makes for windy, snowy conditions there for the Arctic coast, into the North Slope, down to the Brooks Range there. Fair for the Panhandle. And for Friday, front pushes eastward, starts to weaken. The strongest winds up here over the northern Bering Sea and then back to the west. Less wind as this thing weakens with the low center holding back to the west there. Still some rain and gusty winds into the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, but that pushes the high center inland. So lots of sunshine, light winds, a very nice day for Friday. Southern Alaska, Kodiak Island into the Gulf, back to the northwest coast and the Chukchi Sea. Gusty winds and snow for the eastern Arctic coast and North Slope. Rain and snow showers here for the areas north of the Alaska Range, Tanana Valley, 40-mile country. Risk of some shower activity there over the Panhandle. Otherwise, high pressure builds right back in after that moves out for a nice day Saturday there. And that extends up into the Yukon and over the northern and eastern part of the state. Ex-typhoon moves in across the Aleutians to this position Saturday afternoon. And the warm front and moisture associated with that brings a lot of rain and wind into the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, sliding in to Kodiak Island and northward into Cook Inlet. Weaker front brings some light rain and snow there to the Seward Peninsula and the northwest coast from about the Kobuk Valley into the Noatak Valley areas. And then for Sunday, that big system storm, intense storm here, moves northward towards somewhere around St. Matthew Island in the afternoon. Strong winds, of course, associated with that center. Southwest flow right into the coast, so coastal flood warnings coming back into the picture again with that strong front moving inland. Rain heavy at times, strong winds right on down to south central Alaska. Fair for the southeast coast. Good weekend there. Coastal water forecast, northwest winds 15 knots on the south coast, west-northwest 15 to 20 knots on the central coast, and the north coast variable at 10. For Lynn Canal, south winds 15 knots, northwest at 10 for Stevens Passage, north winds at 15, therefore Clarence Strait. And then for Friday, small craft advisories for northwest winds 25 to 30 knots with seas 14 to 15 feet in the south coast. North coast, north winds 15 knots, but seas still up to 8 to 13 feet. And for the inside waters, north to northwest winds at 20 knots with seas running 4 feet. Prince William Sound for Thursday, light northwest breeze at 10 knots, west-southwest winds at 15 to 20 knots for the North Gulf Coast, southwest at 15 for northern Cook Inlet, west at 20 southern Cook Inlet, and some good brisk 30-knot westerlies there for Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands. And then for Friday, north to northeast winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 3 feet, and stays pretty brisk here with those winds for Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands, west 30 knots, north at 20 for Prince William Sound. And for the North Gulf Coast, small craft advisories, northwest winds up to 25 knots. Kodiak Island, west winds for Thursday, 20 knots. Variable winds at 10 knots to the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula. For the Bering Sea side, right on up across Bristol Bay, as you can see, southwest at 15 knots, seas 4 to 5 feet. And then for Friday, south winds 25 to 30 knots for the Alaska Peninsula, seas 5 to 10 feet. Southeast winds 25, 4-foot seas for Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, southwest at 20 with 3 to 6 foot seas. And for the eastern Aleutians tomorrow, southeast winds 20 to 30 knots there with seas up to 8 feet. And then out west here with that strong front coming in, we've got storm warnings from areas west of Adak all the way out to Shemya. Southeast winds 50 to 60 knots, seas up to 25 feet. Gale warnings for Adak and Atka, southeast at 35 with 7 to 10 foot seas. And moving ahead to Friday, gale warnings here for the western Aleutians, south winds 40 to 45 knots, seas 20 to 30 feet out that way. Adak and Atka, south winds at 30 knots with 7 to 15 foot seas. 30 knot winds there into Unimak Island out of the south at 30 knots. But on Alaska Island, gale warnings, south winds 35 to 40 knots. And for the southwest coast, tomorrow as well as St. Lawrence Island, southwest winds at 20 knots, Norton Sound, small craft advisory, southwest 25, seas 6 feet. Winds laying down to 15 knots for the Pribilofs, St. Matthew Island, southwest at 25 knots with 11-foot seas. And for Friday, southeast winds 45 knots for St. Matthew Island, seas up around 20 feet. Gale warnings for the Pribilofs, south at 40, seas 14 feet. And gale warnings for the southwest coast here, south of Nunivak Island, southeast at 40, southeast at 30 for the Yukon Delta coast. Southeast 25 there coming up in the afternoon for St. Lawrence Island, southeast 15 for Norton Sound. On up to the north there for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, southwest winds tomorrow, small craft advisories for southwest winds at 25 to 30 knots, southwest 30 knots for the central Arctic coast and the west side here. Good west winds at 30 knots with seas running 6 to 11 feet. In the Chukchi Sea, west winds 20 to 25 knots with 7 to 10 foot seas. And for Friday, we've got kind of a variable wind pattern going on here in the Chukchi Sea at about 15 knots with 4 to 5 foot seas. Northwest winds 20 knots for the central and western Arctic coast, and those seas up to 8 feet. And small craft advisories for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, west winds 25 to 30 knots with 6 to 9 foot seas.